Kuimarisha Kenya ni jukumu la Farm Kenya.
All right, welcome back to the Farm Kenya show. We might as well call it the meeting of the Farm Kenya show. Beautiful discussion in regards to matters meat production and consumption. And we've talked about, the journey of an animal from where it was raised to the slaughterhouse, what we need to do within the slaughterhouse. And now, for us as consumers, what do we need to be privy of when we're going to buy meat? Some of us, it's just based on, faith. I know bucharia nani na kwanga na nyama poa has it, no? But others, maybe you come in a new area. How do you identify good meat? We're having this discussion with, at the far end, Benson Meadows, the president of Africa Veterinary Technicians Association. And at the center, we have Betty Mulinge, owner of Ongata Fine Meats and Butchery. So, Betty, as a former vegan, I've decided now I'm going to get into meat eating. Rarely happens. It's normally the other way around, most of the times. But in terms of as a consumer, how do you identify good meat, like proper meat, by entering? Because I know even these days in butcheries, they have invested in lighting. So the light hits the meat in a different way. You just look like this is magnificent. But how can you tell proper meat as a consumer?
First, I don't think there is any amount of light, if you know how to check meat, that will make it look good. First, if you check through every butchery has a display window where the meat is hanged. If you check through and you see an all red meat from the display, I can assure you that you need to spare a few hours to boil that meat. That is hard meat. And most of us, of course, we do not want to eat hard meat. And in most cases, it is not even quality. And I would add this, the fatter the animal, the softer the meat. I know most butchers will fear taking the fat meat because of the fat. Maybe because every customer comes, they want soft meat, but they'll always say, staki mafuta. Our taki mafuta, yet us we buy with the fat, and the nyama with mafuta is the soft one. So we want to sell to you quality and soft meat. However, if you don't want fat, there is also steak. We'll get you steak, and of course at a different cost. That is one key point to check. And second, if you find a butchery, of course I know there are butcheries that do not hang meat because they only specialize in selling to you the already sliced. But if they are not specialists in selling the sliced, they don't sell to you the sliced meat, and they are not hanging, probably they are just going behind and getting. You should be wary of what you are likely to consume. And second, for the sliced beef cubes, you need to see some life, even to the cubes. If they look so dry, you are likely to be getting a raw deal, because we'll not this the idea of the ones that will prefer just to sell you the sliced meat. It's because that is their business model. But you need to see life, like looks a bit moist, and sijui which word to use, but ukiangalia tu naona it has life. Yes.
Definitely. That's quite interesting. Yeah, when you see all red, that should be a red flag for you, as a consumer. You should be very wary. Mr. Benson, from a consumer perspective, in terms of, especially you being a meat inspector, you are more keen to detail than we are. And I know majority of the work happens at the slaughterhouses and whatnot. But you, as Mr. Benson, when you remove your white hoodie, now you want to enjoy some proteins. What are you looking at in regards to quality when you are buying meat?
Yes, I think there are things that you may want to remove, but you will not remove. They still get attached to you so that you are sure this meat is actually safe. Now, to start with, we need to be aware that when meat is past fit for human consumption, it is at the slaughterhouse. At that point, it is wear fit. Now, when the way you move that carcass to another place can contaminate the same meat. So the carcass was passed, but from the slaughterhouse up to the butchery, you have contaminated the meat. So the meat will still not be safe. And therefore, what's very important for me at the butchery, first I'll check on the stamp. The stamp must be visible, something you can see. And all slaughterhouses have unique stamps. They are not the same. They are not the same. They have specific numbers for that establishment. Number two, there is a document that leaves a slaughterhouse called Certificate of Transport. That butchery must have that certificate from the slaughterhouse. No meat leaves a slaughterhouse without being known where that meat is being taken. No meat leaves. You can't just carry live meat and start moving around. There is no hawking of meat, by the way. So from the slaughterhouse, you will tell the inspector that this meat, I want to take it to butchery X. And I want to use a vehicle. This meat belongs to me. And I will use a container that has been licensed and approved to carry meat. So in that document, the inspector will write the slaughterhouse, the owner of the meat, the container being used, the vehicle being used, and where it is going, and the time. If a carcass leaves Dagoretti at 9 a.m. in the morning, in that document, that carcass should not be found on the road after 2 hours. It must have reached the destination. So there's no way a document I'll find in Ongata Rongai, for example, which says that this meat has been transported from Nakuru and the container that was used is not insulated or not refrigerated.
Okay.
That meat is definitely bad. So from the butchery, they need to provide consumers with that document.
Okay.
And it must be left in that butchery, always.
Okay.
So that when I go as a consumer, I've seen the stamp, there's that document, so I can easily trace that meat up to the slaughter facility.
Okay.
And then I'll order for 1.5 kilos.
1.5 kilos.
Yes.
Very specific. Bessie, but how many people come to your butchery and they say, can I see the certificate? Can you turn, I want to see the stamp? Most of us just walk in and you're like, okay, I want to get meat. Unless it's Mr. Benson, who's very thorough, I'll ask his certificate iko wapi. And even you as a business owner, you're asking too much. Who are you? You know. But how often do people ask for this information when they come to buy meat?
Unfortunately, even consumers do not know that meat should be stamped. I'll give a case scenario where a customer called me sharing a photo saying the goat that have been sold has an issue. It has some reddish on its skin. And I asked the customer to share the picture on WhatsApp. When she shared, I realized it was the stamp from the slaughterhouse. Now at that point, I had to explain to her that is stamped from the slaughterhouse and it is food grade. So there is nothing to worry about. That's the point I realized that most consumers do not even know how to even check. She doesn't even know that there is something like that happens in slaughterhouse. Yes.
I see that. Your client didn't want to eat a stamp, you know?
She didn't know what it was.
She didn't know what it was.
Yes.
Yes. So should we make it a practice, a normal practice when you come into a butchery to ask or to look for a stamp? Is it stamped at specific places? How do you identify?
Yeah, of course, you'll not find it always because it will depend with where it was stamped and what time you've carved. Maybe that at that moment that part has been sold, or maybe at times we just cut it off. because of avoiding so many questions.
Okay.
But maybe it was stamped at the leg and we've already solved that, but you come in the evening, you won't find it. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But consumer awareness is very important. Yeah. And it's quite interesting that, you know, the client, you know, that feedback loop is very important. You know, back in the day, you would buy a meat, and you just go by faith. You know, you just go by faith, but if it is bad, you are done. You know, you're a mechomeka, so you'll make your porridge and sleep in peace. But if it is good, then good for you. So that consumer awareness seems to be very important, Mr. Benson.
I think it's very important, even before you ask the next question, the way the carcass is stamped, the law is aware that it will be sold. So the way it is stamped, however how you will cut it and sell it, up to the last bit there, you will still see the stamp. But what happens, she's actually right. In some slaughterhouses, the meat traders, with that experience, now impress on the inspecting officer that please don't stamp it that way. I have customers who will not want. And because the meat inspecting officer may not be independent at that point, and this is why we are talking of independence in making judgment and decisions, then follows the trader and just stamps one side. Because of some customers saying, there was a mark, there is this, and they're not sure whether it should be eaten or not. It is actually something that can be eaten. It is food color.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Very, very important.
Yes,
even as we come to the tail end of this conversation, there's been this extra normal, we can call them paranormal, you know, occurrences in our country, where, you know, somebody is wondering why they are hardworking. Kumbe they have been eating, you know, donkey meat. That's funny. That's funny. You know, wondering these days are different. You know.
No, you're hardworking. I'm trying.
Yeah, but I'm thinking, Betty, like there is always bad players in every sector. You at Ongata Fine Meats and Butchery, you're doing it right, by the book properly, and you know, you can tell by the clientele. But again, there are bad players. Sometimes you find meat that shouldn't be there. Sometimes game meat, sometimes donkey meat. From your perspective and just observing the industry, how do we end up in such occurrences?
First, I think I would say in this country, just in every business, people are just greedy and want to make quick cash. If someone wants to sell game meat, which is not a crime, they should just apply for the relevant licenses to run that, so that the meat is inspected. Why do you want to bring game meat in a butchery that is only allowed to sell cow and goat, maybe per se? I think for me, I would say it's just greed, running from bottom to top, I would say, because I've been saying it begins with me. If personally I'm not accountable, I'm not going to expect my leader to be accountable. And I want to begin it from the point that I am. When I'm selling you beef, I want it to be beef. When I'm selling you goat, I'll not sell you sheep in place of goat. I want to be that honest with you. If you want sheep, order for sheep, I'll bring, because that is another area that is happening. When I'm selling you chicken, it's chicken. It's about honesty, personality, and just doing things right.
Okay.
Yes.
Definitely. Is it the same case, Mr. Benson, in terms of bad players and sometimes meat that shouldn't be in the market? I know you've talked about interference within the value chain, but even besides that, how do you end up having people eating donkeys and whatnot?
Yes. Donkeys and game meat. In fact, they are bad players. I think that one we must accept. And this is spoiling the business for people like her who want to do the right thing. And that's why you find even in her business, somebody travels, spends 2,000 to go and buy a kilo of meat at 700. So it means that people have seen that we have crooks outside there. How do we reach there? In Kenya today, we don't have meat surveillance officers. There's none. In other words, if the inspectors have done their job in the slaughterhouse, who moves around to ensure that the meat which is being displayed is actually from a slaughterhouse? That should be the responsibility of the county governments. You cannot leave it to the consumers. And that's the loophole that so many people have seen. This is a multi-billion industry, multi-billion. So if you can do those crafty things and get even 2 million, why not? So people are stealing animals stealing donkeys. They are going for game meat. They transport them at night. And then the moment they have reached the outlet, the butchery, then it means they are safe. It is now between him and the consumer who will buy a kilo. There is no government at this point, which is a responsibility of the county government, to come and ensure that this meat is actually the meat that left the slaughterhouse. So I think that is where we have a very big gap. Even the ones that are being transported, we have meat being transported at night. Where are they coming from and where are they going? In the whole country, slaughterhouses open at 6 and close at 6, except the few with authority that can process at night. But they must be given authority.
Okay.
So if you're transporting meat at night, where did you get it? So we need persons outside there to protect the consumers and ensure that all meat that is outside is actually inspected.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's very, very important. I know, Betty, you had come with a few carts here and even other products. Somebody might think this is some nice milk. What is this?
This is goat tallow. You see how you can differentiate it from the beef tallow? It's the color. This is white. This is a bit yellowish. And for the cow tallow, to know the best, it's about the color. It depends with also the quality of the beef that produced the tallow. And there is also the sheep tallow. It never solidifies completely. Like it never gets hard as this. That's how you can tell. If this was sheep tallow, I could be able to press the tin. Yes.
So value addition within, and I think that's a whole other discussion.
Yes.
But there is so much consumer interest in additional products to what we traditionally consume from meat.
So much demand. Like in our area where we are based in Ongatarongai, we have so many Maasais that come from as far as Tanzania. And for them, they don't pick in these small containers. They say, put for me in 10-liter jerrycan. Yes, they pick in 10-liter jerrycan. At any point, I must have at least 2 10-liter on standby because they come and say we are traveling with it to Arusha or such. The consumption from Maasais is very high. And we have also seen in the recent days an increase from demand from people like you. Like right now I have someone I know, I've been selling to people who are also coming and now putting their labels for resale. Yes, I feel proud because I'm giving out to the market good product. We do this by ourselves. We cook it for, when the Maasais come, they'll say, give me a knife to test. Kama imeiva, they can tell. And they say they only keep coming back because inakuanga imeiva. That is how you break down the unsaturated fats when you boil it for long. Yes, because you can still have tallow, but still the quality. Maybe we'll not discuss about advantages today. People can go and check. But you may not reap full benefit if it is not fully cooked.
Yes. Definitely. Very, very interesting discussion. I think when Somebody was talking about tallow oil and reeling, and what happened to the prospects of
Maybe
Kenya having
just
its
to
own?
add, it is not only food, it is also medicine. I told you I'm coming from the pharmaceutical industry. It has very high moisture content.
Okay.
And for breastfeeding mothers, sometimes they get cracks on the nipples. I've helped so many with them.
Okay.
And for tough skin conditions like eczema.
Okay.
Yes.
Beef tallow is for you. What a discussion. And I think today we've just touched the surface, but a beautiful, beautiful discussion. Thank you very much, Betty Mulinga, owner of Ongata Fine Meat and Butchery. Asante sana for your time. Mr. Benson Ameda, who's the President, Africa Veterinary Technicians Association. Thank you very much for your time and making this engagement beautiful. All right, that's where we'll put a full stop to Farm Kenya today. We've been beefing for the past 1 hour, and it's the time that we stop. Discussion about meat production and consumption. And thank you very much for being part of this journey. That's all from our end. My name is Nokip Kimboy, and we are out. Beef tallow. We are out.
Mlango wa kulima kuwa mshindi.